Welcome to the No Name Brand Podcast. My name is Sashka Hanarappel, actress, singer, dancer, turned brand marketing, sales, and advertising strategist who brands your soul. And each week I bring you an inspiring person or message to help you discover your undergod, turn up your leadership notches, challenge the status quo, because you're fast and furious with a powerful message to share with the world. Thank you for taking time out with me today, and without further ado, let's get our creative and wisdom juices flowing. Visionaries and change makers, today's session is going to be off the hook. So get yourselves comfortable, and if you're driving, you're going to be pumped after this episode, so go easy on the gas, okay? Now, our guest is one of the world's leading experts in beauty, wealth, and feminine leadership. And y'all know how much I love leadership. She's known for her signature program, SellingINStilettos, that helps women increase their net worth, self-worth, and feminine power. Yes, please. As a former Hollywood body double and music video dancer, her life didn't start easy. As an aged-out foster care kid at 18, experiencing every financial hardship you could possibly imagine, she not only taught herself, but learned from the school of life and others how to master obstacles and leverage her failures. Today, she's a global player who's revolutionizing feminine leadership through her powerful vision, because we need those to show women how to sell, how to be a saleswoman of your product, service, ideas, strategies, and of course of yourself. This, she is 100% confident of, that this will turn you into an unstoppable, unbreakable, and unshakable force that others will listen to, love, respect, promote, hire, follow, and consistently buy from. Yes, please. So how does one go from being the underdog Cinderella to one of the world's most noted leadership players? Well, what do you say we dive in and get to know her to find out? Here she is, visionaries, the one and only Ungenita Prevost. Hello, Ungenita.
Bonjour. Hello. How are you?
Bonjour.
Wow, what an introduction. What an introduction. I love it. I love it. I love
Merci
it. Thank
beaucoup.
you.
Merci beaucoup. Je suis bon.
Oui, oui. I love it. I love it.
We're going to dive in with our first question. Now, what is your definition of a female leader? And who, in your eyes, is the epitome of female leadership?
That's a great question. And for me, it would be a hybrid because my philosophy about feminine leadership is really combining the feminine with the masculine, because it takes both to be a female leader. And it would be a blend of Oprah Winfrey, Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, cool.
And I'm going to say this is a tie. I go back and forth. Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
That goes without saying. And on the radical side, and obviously I have a beauty background, would be Tyra Banks.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Oh, well, I'd definitely be going with J-Lo and Michelle Obama.
I figured that. Yes. Yes.
Oh, my God. I'm in the opinion, if a person learns to survive and dream at the same time, because it's very difficult to dream when you're in the phase of surviving. But when you find that person that knows how to survive and dream at the same time, despite a really rough start in life, that they are, for me, the best business mentors to work with, because they don't give up. There's no option to give up. Do you find that this hunger that you crave for success is a prerequisite for leadership? Like really, really, really wanting the success? Not just for the money, because when you're in that phase, even dreaming and surviving, it's not necessarily the money, because the money's to a means, but there's something bigger than that. Like really wanting that success. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I love the way you put that, because I think that's what helped me. Was that I always had a dream, Martin Luther King. dream. I had a dream. I always had a dream. And I carried that. And I was a bit over the top, and people would say, "Are you crazy? Like, you're this foster girl. Like, the odds are against you. How dare you think that you can actually be something or someone," right?
Yeah.
And the dream is what carried me. The dream is what allowed me to take risks and deal with fear, because every day, I mean, still to this day, like, I deal with fear.
Yeah.
And it gave me the confidence to lead my own life. And I didn't think I was a leader because I only saw myself as a flawed human being, right? So I never looked at myself as a leader. But because I was able to lead myself, right, out of all of these obstacles and create this life, it attracted people to me. And people started looking up to me. And then I stepped into leadership by default. And I think that most of the time, that's what happens. I mean, there probably are some people that at 5 years old, they say, "I want to lead the world," or something. But for the most part, I think it's an organic process. And it involves you leading your life first.
Yeah. I love that, leadership by default, because I often ask the question to most mentors that are in leadership, are you born with leadership, or is leadership something that you can learn? And I personally believe that you're born with it. Like you said, it's by default, it's in you. And you have this craving, because as a leader, you don't necessarily, as it was with you, you don't stand in the foreground. You're just doing your thing, and you're mostly in the background as a leader.
Yep.
You're not even looking at the word leadership. You're just doing your thing, and by that, empowering those around you without actually putting it out there. So what do you think, or what do you want to empower, or why do you want to empower women leaders in particular? What is your drive behind that?
Well, I think it's how my life has evolved. I started in entertainment. I didn't think I was going to be in personal development, but because of the way people reacted to me and still react, I listen, right? And in the beginning, I didn't think I was a coach. I always tell this, I did not think coaching was glamorous enough for me. I wanted something very glamorous, and I didn't think it was glamorous. So I didn't see myself as a coach. And people kept saying, "Oh my God, you're a coach, you're a coach, you're a coach." And then eventually I said, "Fine, I'm a coach. I'm going to coach women, I guess," because I always gave great advice. And then when I start to see the ramifications, right? The residual value of what I do, then I realize I have something to offer. This story needs to be heard. And the flip side is I look at people that are in leadership positions by default that are not doing anything to empower women. They are actually keeping women, I would say, disempowered. And that's really my driving force, because I look at, I'm not going to name names, but I look at some people and I go, "Gosh, you have this great big following and women are looking up to you, but you're not giving them anything. That's not good. I can actually give them something. I can serve them. I can improve their lives." I'll share something with you. Like, I'm against selfies, okay? Like, I think that women are just obsessed with selfies. I think it's narcissism at its finest. And I think that it's removed us from really valuing what we have on the inside. Now, that's a lot coming from me because I made a living, right, with being a body double, okay? But I still work on the inside. I still value having talents, having skills, having an intellect, having credentials, and all those things come from the inside. And so for me, I just wish more women would lead with that and not feel like every photo on Instagram has to be a selfie. Or everything has to be about how you look. I think it's important, obviously, but there has to be a balance. And that's really my position in this world, is to show women how to balance it.
I love that. I love that. I never thought about that, about selfies. I'd take the worst selfies anyway. If I even tried to attempt them, my nose is flared, my head's all in the wrong position. I'm just like, no. And even though I've studied
You know why? You know why?
No.
Because you have to take 100 before you get it right. That's why.
Yeah, Sashka's just like, no, one time only. I don't have one time only. I don't have all the time to waste. He's like, did I get the right one? I'm just like, oh, screw it.
Yes, it takes 100. It takes 100. Who has time for that? Time for that?
No, not me. Talking about time, you started your business about 10 years ago.
Yes.
Your journey from where you were then to now, how would you sum up the milestones on that journey? What were the most poignant milestones?
Well, again, when I started, I went into the industry kicking and screaming.
I don't want to be a coach. I'm not football. No.
Yeah. So that's how I started. And it was important for me to redefine coaching, right? And create something new. So for the first couple of years, worked on my branding and really coming up with my brand image, right? Because I wanted to make sure that people understood that I was different. So that was the first couple of years. Then I niched myself with the beauty and the fashion community. So that was probably the next major milestone. And that was actually really good for me because it was an easy sell because I was already an artist and I was able to connect with other artists and they liked me and they hired me and it was a lot of fun. But I think year 4, year 5, I realized my credentials and I realized that I could be more of a generalist and help women. And I didn't want to niche myself and only work with beauty makers and only work with fashionistas. I knew that I could work with women and also powerful women. And that's when Selling in Stilettos actually was born. I trademarked Selling in Stilettos about 3 years ago, but I didn't give it a name, sort of the brand, right? I named it and then I created the brand behind it and the mission behind it. So that's the transition. And so now it's clearly defined as feminine leadership, working with powerhouse women leaders. And I have clients that are starting the business. I have clients that are transitioning out of corporate and into entrepreneurship. I have clients that are 7 and 8 figure business women that have been invisible, meaning they built companies, but they're behind the scenes. And now they want to come out and be noticed. And so I work with a lot of, those types of women. And it's been amazing, but it's been a lot of failures. I use this phrase, sugar, sweat, and tears. It costs a lot of sugar because I love to eat desserts and a lot of sweat because I work out, I do hot yoga and, I was a dancer, so I'm obsessed with working out, and tears because I'm the girl that will cry my eyes out, go to bed and wake up and say, F it, I'm still going to conquer the world.
That pretty much sums me up, I think. I think most strong leaders and women leaders, that pretty much sums it up. Yep. Sugar,
it takes sugar, sweat, and tears. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Oh my God, I love it. So I want to get onto the topic of something that I took a while to acknowledge. And I strongly believe that if you don't believe in you and what you can achieve in your dreams, that you can actually make something happen, you've already lost if you're not believing in yourself. And that took me a while, just that word, just believing in myself. And I think it took a while because as a creative visionary with so many ideas, pinpointing exactly what it was I wanted to believe in, because you can believe in a lot of things. I can believe in Father Christmas and the Tooth Fairy, believing in yourself, like who am I? What am I actually believing in? And that's how I came also then to finding your life purpose and creating your brand out of that. When did you start believing in yourself, like without a shadow of doubt? What did it take for you to believe in yourself 100%?
Well, I think I believed in myself a little bit when I think the first time would have been when I was 10 years old and I was in New Orleans and I had a vision of moving to Los Angeles to be a star. So that was probably the first time. Then I went through this period where I started to sort of become a woman, like 15, 16, and boys started noticing, when you go through that phase.
No,
And
I didn't have that phase. Nobody noticed me.
stop it, stop it, stop it. So I went through this phase, and all of a sudden I believed that I could be a supermodel.
Oh, cool. Yes,
So I went through
babe.
that phase. And then that gave me the confidence to believe that I could be in entertainment. But I'll tell you something. When I moved to Los Angeles and I stepped into this entertainment world, and this world is, full of perfection.
Mm.
I mean, it really challenged me because you walk into a room and your flaws are always highlighted. And that's what people don't understand. And people wonder why celebrities have so many issues, because when you're in the entertainment business, your flaws are always, always, always highlighted. Your agents tell you, well, you're not tall enough. You're not, at the time, I was too thin. Some people said I was not like voluptuous enough. Like it's always something, right? And I remember thinking that I just don't know if I have it. And I would find flaws, always like having an issue with how I look. But it wasn't until I became a body double, ironically, because a body double is a shadow. Like a lot of people don't know about body doubling because a lot of actresses and celebrities, they make you sign contracts. You can't really tell the world that you've loaned your parts for them to use, on screen and so forth. And I became a double, and you're sort of in the shadow, right? Because everyone thinks it's the other person and it's actually you. And that's when I really start to like have some confidence about me, right? About me physically. And that helped increase my confidence within, because I was so hard on myself. And then all of a sudden I was body doubling for some pretty big names. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. Like the little girl that people tease for looking like olive oil because she was too skinny, like all of a sudden she's a body double. Wow, that's interesting. So I think for me, I went through many stages. And the whole unstoppable, unbreakable, unshakable, that didn't come until probably, again, like a few years ago. But I would say the entertainment industry really allowed me to discover myself, because I actually went to Hollywood to get discovered. That's what all starlets do, right? And not everyone ends up with a career like Halle Berry. And I just discovered myself. And when I discovered myself, that's really when I stepped into other industries, and obviously this industry and this work that I'm doing now.
I love that. This girl wanted to go to Hollywood and landed up in Scotland. Pretty much on the other side. Anyway, so let's talk affirmations.
Yes.
Like this is something that I do for myself when I go on a power walk, saying to myself, like, because I'm in the forest, so I walk with giants, these huge trees. So I'm like, I am a giant. I am Sashka the Great. I'm leadership, descent. I'm a force of nature. I'm anointed. When did you first start using affirmations? Do you have any favorite ones that you say almost every day?
Yes, I actually I read a book. I was probably about 25. My girlfriend gave me Florence Scovel Shinn,
Oh, wow.
The Game of Life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Cool.
when I started playing with affirmations.
Mm.
But today, I'll tell you, one affirmation that gets a lot of attention is I'm the wealthiest woman in the world.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And what does wealth mean? Wealth
Exactly.
to every person, yeah.
And I actually used that affirmation at an event. I just said it. I said, I am the wealthiest woman in the world. And I said, that has nothing to do with the bank account. It has nothing to do with my credit score. Not that my credit score is bad or anything like that. But you know what I mean? Like all the things that you would associate with wealth, right? I want to be very clear that it has nothing to do with that. Okay? I feel wealthy. And so many women came up to me and they said, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that. How are you able to say that? And so in my mind, I am the wealthiest woman in the world. My very first brand was the $1 Billion Beauty. And that's it's kind of interesting, right? Because I'm always talking about wealth and money. But for me, it's just how I feel inside, abundance. And especially after the life I've lived and knowing that I will always be provided for. And I know that I can come out of any situation. I have that peace. So I can feel wealthy with millions of dollars in the bank, and I can feel wealthy with, no money in the bank. I've been in that position before. And that's really my favorite one. And it empowers me. And now I use it to empower women to really help them step into increasing their wealth consciousness, because that's a big issue, especially with selling, right? You really have to have a strong wealth consciousness to sell, and marry that wealth consciousness with owning, right, who you are, so that you can put your skills, your talents, and your credentials out there to sell yourself, your product, your service, your ideas, your strategies, whatever.
That's so true. Because there's a lot of mindset involved with selling, and whether it be your product, your idea, yourself, whatever it is, and related to or in conjunction with wealth. Like, is wealth just money, or is it just abundance, or is it all of those, as well as, being grateful, being connected to yourself? So many different things that come into play. But from such a young age, there's so much focus on money, and that money is wealth, and money is status, and money is success. And coming out of that mindset requires leaders like yourself. And especially for a lot of women who have this epitome of a woman leader or a woman with wealth, and the wealthiest woman, you dress to the nine and you are in stilettos and you can actually walk in stilettos and not just stand in them. That whole image that's over there. You were mentioning before the hardships that you went through where you had no money in the bank. When you were in foster care, because that's a whole different story. How would you have felt at that time, not knowing what you know now about this quote? There is nothing wrong in wanting to get rich. The desire for riches is really the desire for a richer, fuller, and more abundant life. And the desire is praiseworthy. The man or woman who does not desire to live more abundantly is abnormal. And so the man or woman who does not desire to have money enough to buy all the wants is abnormal. From Wallace Walton. Would you have read this when you were in foster care? How would you have reacted to this?
Science of Getting Rich.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I mean, if only I had that book at at 15. Wow.
Yeah.
Because remember, at that time for me it was survival. So I think the whole rich and famous part came from wanting to feel important. Because when you're a foster kid, you're labeled as a problem child and no one really wants you, and you go through the system and it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
So the sort of rich and famous, I needed that, right? At the time, I thought that that was going to make me feel important and like somebody, right? But I always had a job and I had to work. So I didn't have the luxury of depending on the government. I mean, I had to work. Even though I was in foster care, I still had to work. And when I was aged out of the system, I had to work. So for me, even though I like to say this because I know that my brand has a tendency to come off in a very superficial way, and I'm okay with that because I love the glamour and I love the beauty and the opulence. But I'm a girl that rolls up her sleeves and goes to work. I don't mind getting dirty. Work is very important to me. Like, I don't rest on my laurels, never have, never will. I live in Los Angeles. It's easy to run off and marry a rich man when you look like me. But that was never my station in life. Not that, no judgment here. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's what you choose to do. That's fine. But that was never my station in life. And so for me, wealth was just being able to pay the bills and pay my rent. And then when I got more money, then I thought, okay, I want the Swarovski. I want the diamonds. I want the designer clothes and all of that. But in the beginning, it was really about survival. And I hope I made sense because I have a tendency to go on tangents. But it was about survival. So I often say this. Every day that a woman can pay her bills is an empowering day for a woman.
So true. Yep. Not depending on anyone, because you're making things happening, what you created. I love that.
Exactly.
Oh, we're coming to the end.
No, you can't end.
Telling you,
I want some more hard questions. Come on, bring it on.
All right. Okay. One more question. How should empowered women, be selling themselves? Where do they start? Where would you recommend they start? And what should they be working towards?
Okay. I'm going to give you the backstory on selling yourself because it's a little controversial, because it implies it's like salacious. Ooh, selling yourself, right? Well, actually, I was at a conference, very well-known marketer in Silicon Valley, San Francisco. He did this whole lecture on selling yourself, and it was amazing. And this guy raised like millions of dollars, helped start multiple companies. And I thought, that's interesting. And so I went to Google and I Googled selling yourself. And I noticed that every topic around selling yourself was about a man. And no one related selling yourself to a woman. And I said, I'm going to be the woman that puts this phrase out into the world. Of course, people said, "Oh, I don't think that's right. I think it's the wrong message." And I said, no, it's not, because women have issues with sales. And so I did a survey, and most women came back. I said, on a scale of 1 to rich, how good are you at selling yourself? 3, 2, 5, some days 6, some days 9. I mean, it blew me away.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, you know what? This is important. So for me, selling yourself is, again, this is something I say often, owning your credentials, because women have a tendency to practice diminishment, owning your skills. Like, what can you do? Like, you have skills, right?
Yeah.
What can you do? And talent. And when you own all 3 of those, that will give you the ability, the confidence to sell yourself, right? Stand up proud and confident. And then you can sell your product, your service, your ideas, your strategies, because it's rooted in you. And selling is about connecting with people. So if you're not connected to you, how do you expect someone to be connected to you?
That's such a good point. If you're not connected to you, how are you going to have anyone connect to you, sell? How are you connecting them to sell? Because you don't know who you're selling to, what you're selling, or the confidence in there. I love that. So we would summarize it that you need to know who you are in order to sell, who you're selling to, and what you're selling. And know, for the first thing, who you are, acknowledging how freaking great you are, all your talents, your gifts, your credentials, and
Own
owning
them.
up to it.
Yes.
I
Own
love that.
everything, every little thing. Even if you think it's not that great, you still have to own it.
Love
And
it.
you have to put it out there in the spotlight. Very important.
Spotlight. Yes, please.
Yes.
So closing off, I have 2 questions that I ask all my guests. The first one being you to fill in the blanks on 3 of my favorite core values. The first being passion for you is?
Freedom.
Wisdom for you is?
Strength.
Creativity for you is?
Beauty.
Cool. How do you want to change or challenge the world doing what you do?
I just want women to own who they are, really. Just own who they are. Value themselves.
Do too little of that. Ungenita, thank you so much for being with us here today and sharing your leadership, your own leadership, and your empowerment that you've gone through, how you've been the change in the world and helping women to empower themselves and to choose their leadership and to move forward with that. And for honoring your own gifts and owning up to it, and acknowledging for yourself how incredible you are, and being the example and role model to other women who need to hear that they need to own up to who they are and who they were born to be and why they need to do that. You can find out more about Ungenita in the show notes, where she's on social media. She has a free little goodie for you. It's really good. I've gone through it myself. Her favorite book, her favorite quote, and of course, getting in contact with Ungenita for any requests that you need with regards to selling in stilettos. In the meantime, I want to thank you, the listeners, for listening in, for being here with us. And should you be driving still, I hope your foot has gone off the gas, being empowered in this rather off the hook episode. And I look forward to hearing and seeing you next week with more awesome guests and incredible people who are being the change that they want to see in the world. So live fast and furious. And thank you once again, Ungenita, for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Have an awesome
My
day,
pleasure.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
bang, that was just supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I enjoyed having you on board, and please do me and you a favor. Head on over to iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. Click subscribe, and a super bonus, leave your review and you stand a chance of being announced and advertised on the show. I'm always striving to ensure that your brand is uplifted and empowered. Remember, done is better than perfect. So be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and send in your feedback too. You're the absolute best. Keep rocking.